welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson. My mission is to help trauma therapists be their incredible selves, to be human, to be real, not just a clinician. I'm a big believer in who we are is more important than what we know. And this requires cultivating authenticity, genuineness, and vulnerability, and that requires intention. You can learn more about my courses and workshops by going to thetraumatherapistproject.com. That's thetraumatherapistproject.com. Let's get started. All right, so 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. Very excited to have as my guest today, Hilary Roberts. Hilary, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for welcoming me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Awesome. So Hilary began her career at Owl Practice 5 years ago, working to help support therapists navigate the platform. She's a passionate advocate for mental health, both professionally and in her personal life, and has grown in her career within the organization where she's currently Director of Sales and Client Services. As a lifelong volunteer, Hilary is thrilled to continue her career with Owl Practice, currently helping to nurture customer relationships and grow the company's software to better serve mental health professionals. She's also an active volunteer in the LGBTQ community, leading a support group for women new to coming out. Hilary, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I listen to the podcast and I love the podcast, so I'm so thrilled to be a guest.
Appreciate that. So before we get going, share with our listeners where you're from originally and where you are currently.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Toronto and I currently live here as well. So Canadian on the pod, which is really exciting. I started my career in doing a lot of volunteering when I was in university, had summer jobs working at not-for-profits, an organization that helped people with Alzheimer's. I ran a lot of their kind of programs for some of the members that were there. I worked with March of Dimes, helping to run employment programs for people there as well. And my last kind of position in not-for-profits was working in South Africa with victims of sexual assault. It was a really hard career for me to be working in, and I experienced compassion fatigue quite quickly.
Wow.
It was hard. I really admire people who can do that work day to day. So I made a switch over to more of the private sector after that, working in sales coordination, and customer service. And when I was ready to make a change in my last career, I found Owl Practice and it felt kismet. A company that really allowed me to combine things that I'm so passionate about in my life with a job helping people. It's a wonderful company to work for and work with, and I'm just so happy here.
Well, you just kind of skipped over quickly your kind of rich background. Mm-hmm. First of all, I mean, to do what you started this at a young age. You had this interest to help, to get in there. Where did that come from? Yeah.
So when I was actually in high school, I did respite care for families of children with developmentally disabled children, which was a really enriching experience. We would go out and do things in the community or hang out and do crafts or other fun stuff. And it was something I enjoyed so much, really getting to connect with these individuals and as well with their families. I thought actually about being a therapist and kind of going into that field, but I was pretty sure I was going to be a teacher. There's a lot of teachers in my family. And so I chose that path instead. And when I was in university, I just kind of had opportunities to work in different places, given the background that I had doing respite care and working with people with special needs. So I was so lucky to kind of have those opportunities. Working at the Alzheimer's organization was one of the first ones that I did, and it gave me a real jump start into that kind of career. I ran with a nurse on staff. I ran a program for people who were brand new in like the early stages of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And we did things like, activities like playing games or reading the paper, chair yoga. But I really found for myself, I connected so deeply with some of the members in discussing, their fear of the transition that they were going through. A couple of them specifically were obviously just having a really hard time with the diagnosis. I'll never forget one of the clients I connected with, George. He had been a cooking teacher for a number of years, and he really wanted to teach us how to cook. He did Chinese cooking classes, and I helped give him kind of the confidence to do like a cooking class for us where we all made food together and then we got to eat. And it's something I think about all the time. So from
Oh,
there, just having that experience, I got to work in other not-for-profits and volunteer situations aside from that as well. So yeah, it's always something I've been really passionate about. My parents really believe in helping people out. I grew up in that kind of family as well. So I just love it. And I still love it. It's something I really prioritize in my life outside of work still as well.
that's amazing and inspiring. You said you worked with also sexual assault survivors, which was very challenging, and I can imagine that was challenging. How did you? What made you do that?
Yeah. So, as I said, I'd work with people with Alzheimer's. I worked at March of Dimes, helping people who had an injury at work. And I volunteered at an organization for people with AIDS as well, which I really enjoyed when I was in university. I got this opportunity that basically is kind of, I guess, like an exchange through the government of Canada with other countries is the best way to describe it. And when I went there, it was just so different than I thought it was going to be. The types of sexual assault targeted victims, the attitude around it is so different in Canada as it is in other countries, as I'm sure you can imagine. And it was a really difficult challenge. A lot of victims there in the time I was there working are children and the elderly, which is
Mm,
definitely not what I was expecting. And as you can imagine, just such a heartbreaking thing to be part of. It was just so incredibly hard. We visited hospitals, we went to conferences, and in this program, it was a lot of kind of taking down people's stories to share with the government. And it's so hard. It's so hard
mm,
being a witness to someone else's trauma, especially when I didn't feel like I really had the adequate training for that. And I definitely was young. And so I wasn't really focused on the level of self-care that you need to do outside of work to make sure that you're able to show up for your clients
right.
in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's very intense. I could just imagine. I was curious about what kind of training you had, but what kind of strikes me, first of all, Owl Practice is one of the sponsors here, and I just feel really fortunate to be able to. I mean, look at you. You're amazing. You're working with, seriously, come on, to be able to, you know, work with you guys and have you guys sponsor the podcast and to bring you on and to let people hear about who's running this company is I think it's really, really cool and really fortunate. So before we started, let's kind of segue into here and then share with the listener, what Owl Practice is. But one of the things you said to me before we started recording was, you know, you really care about, I mean, right, this can sound really like easy to say, but you really care about the therapists who are working, who your audience in a sense. Share with us more about that.
Yeah.
What is Owl Practice?
Yeah, so we are a company. We were founded about 10 years ago, actually by someone whose wife is a really successful psychologist. She needed something for her practice that she was kind of using like a jumble of systems all along the way. So they built Owl to really help her run her practice. And from there, we've grown so significantly. I think having those roots of building this for someone you care about, knowing a clinic on a really intimate level, it gave us a real advantage because we're not just kind of talking the talk. We used to actually, when I started with the company, we would go to her office and meet in person every week. So we were actually physically in the clinic. We got to talk to the admin and the other therapists that work there about, how is the system working? What can we help you with? And we foster that relationship with so many of the customers that we work with. We really care about people's feedback and making the product work for them. I think something that we've really done is empowered our team to really know a lot about therapists and make sure the platform fits them in that way. I myself, I've been helped so much in my personal life through therapy. I really have an understanding of how businesses run, what they need. I know so many therapists in my personal life, they're my friends or, colleagues really in some cases. And it gives us the opportunity to really know them, going through
Mhm.
conferences and talking to them about what is the biggest pain point for your practice. What is something that you need? Something I'm super passionate about is learning about the trends of therapy. What are new approaches that people are really using? Something we're talking about a lot now in the therapeutic landscape is AI and how that can be scary, but obviously it can also really help you in some ways to run your practice. So always really looking at being on the edge of trends and how we can help people to manage their practice in a way so they can see more clients. If you are spending, 3 extra hours every week on all of your administrative stuff, hopping between systems, working with systems that don't talk to each other, that is 3 extra hours you could be seeing clients or doing self-care or spending time with your friends and family to make yourself have a richer life. And that's something that we believe so strongly in. I think the last time we did a survey on this, we found it saved people on average about 11 hours a month
Oh my gosh.
of administrative time in terms of having everything all in one place, like your notes, your billing. We do automatic reminders. We offer video therapy. All of those things together makes a huge difference. Even if you just cut out doing reminders for your clients for your sessions, our rate of no shows is like 4% of all sessions that we work with or something like close to that. It's definitely less than 10. I think it's around 4. And when you think about that, no shows can be a huge problem for therapists. You're wondering about your client and where they are, if they're okay, and you don't know if they've simply forgot about the session or if they're in crisis. On top of losing out on that revenue, it's a really upsetting situation for a therapist.
So Owl Practice is, when you say it's to help therapists manage their practice, it's a software they log on to
Yeah.
their computer.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a software. You have your own individual login page. It's not searchable, which is a huge relief, I think, for people working with clients. Essentially, you log into the practice. There's all sorts of settings that you can customize. And on the first page, the calendar, you can do everything you need to do within your day. You can do your notes, you can do all your billing, book sessions, add new clients, all without even navigating away from that page. Then you can do kind of everything else that you need to do week to week as well, right in the system. So we offer intake forms that you can just send right off to your clients and have them digitally fill out outside of a session. We have clinical measures, so things like the GAD-7, the PHQ-9. I think we have around 70 measures now in the
Oh,
system that are just included with the cost of your subscription. So there's no concept of having to score those anymore. You can simply analyze the results. It graphs your client's progress over time. So if you are someone that is using clinical measures for your clients, it is a huge time saver. We
mhm.
have video therapy, which is secure. We even have an area in the system where it looks at all of your outstanding work and piles it up into one place. So you can check it at the end of the day, the end of the week, to make sure that nothing ever slips through the cracks. You're never having to go to a million places to see where everything is. It's all nicely there in one type package. So you can take care of it all and really take your time back. There's also a concept of a client interface, so they can join their video sessions. They can get copies of their financial documents if they need those. We have a messaging feature that's completely secure, so no longer do you need to worry about email or hush mail. With speaking with your clients, you can actually do it right through the system, send homework and attachments through there as well. And you can also use online booking. And I think the greatest thing, oh, and you can take payments. I didn't even mention that. So if you are someone that does private pay, your clients can put their credit card in and you can charge them yourself right after a session to make sure you're always getting paid. And the one thing I love about the system, it's so customizable. So if you're not someone that feels comfortable with online booking, you don't need to use online booking. It's very easy to turn those things off. We
Wow.
really over offer on the features to make sure that people can do everything they want. But if you are a smaller practice or not as comfortable with those aspects of technology, you don't need to use them. And if you ever do, we're so there for you to make sure
Mm.
we can show you how to use them as well.
Wow. You'd mentioned that um initially you went to one of the owner's
Yeah.
wife's office and spoke with her and find out, kind of got feet on the ground type thing, and you've gone to conferences to speak with therapists to find out what kind of their pain points are. What are some of the things that you've heard that you've been able to then go back and implement?
Yeah, one of the top things I hear, therapists a lot of times are not necessarily very tech savvy, and maybe some of your listeners really are, but a lot of people don't want to spend a lot of time figuring out a software. And we've really resolved that by helping you through that. We have a dedicated team of onboarding specialists. We will do things like build your forms for you. We'll build your note templates for you so that you don't have to spend any of time doing that. To your client, import for you. Then we show you on a video how to use the session. You can record these sessions and save them so that you can watch them anytime you need. So that's one thing is we help you to make sure if anything feels confusing, we have the answer for that. And the other aspect is we have some really great tools for you to do that on your own. So we have guides through the app of how to do that. We have a huge suite of FAQs. And the system itself, I think, as someone who works in technology, I don't think I'm a super tech savvy person. I'm actually just about to get a new phone and I'm so anxious about learning it all. I think the system is so incredibly easy to use. You can do things on like multiple screens. You're never, going around saying, like, where do I do that? How do I do that? So that's a huge one, is we make it easy for you to learn things. In terms of other things, I would say, we listen to people and what they need. So for example, we built video therapy. It was in progress right before lockdown, and it was rushed out to make sure that when people were stuck at home, they didn't have to use a solution like Zoom, which many people do feel uncomfortable with. So that was another one. We added forms for that. We added measures for that. I think a lot of the things are we listen to what people need to do in their business and what you need to be doing to run a practice. We're ahead of the trend, so we're always anticipating what you need. And one big thing we're actually just about to roll out is a lot of people have said, I want more options for my notes. I want to be able to use checklists, drop down, want to be able to report on these things. And we are rolling out a huge new release to our notes feature to make them a bit more standardized for people who really need this, especially people who work with insurance companies where this is required.
Let me just pause here for a moment. We're speaking with Hilary Roberts of Owl Practice. Pause here for a second to thank our sponsors. All right, Hilary, how would you, first of all, HIPAA compliant?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So people are probably thinking, listening to this thinking, oh, I'd like to do it, but how secure is it? How safe is it? How would you respond?
Yeah. So I would say security is one of our number one concerns. We have here the whole team dedicated to making sure that we're secure. We are always having, meetings every week where we're talking about, if we're making new products, what are the security concerns of that? How are we abiding by laws? How are we making the system more accessible and ensuring we're abiding by those laws? So I would say it's not even just about HIPAA compliant. It is about thinking of every possible compliance that you could have and making sure we're there. We're always doing research about new things that are passing and making sure, again, that we're going to be ahead of those laws so there's no worry or concern. We're very on top of that. We have, like I said, people on our team that are complete experts of that. It is, I would say, when we founded the business, really one of the cornerstones that we made sure that we had was that things were secure and compliant, because as a therapist, you already have to think of all of your ethical concerns. You have to think of insurance requirements. You have to think of so many other things to run your business. If we can just take that whole worry out and let you know all of that's taken care of with your software, especially with your client data. We know that fines for mishandling data are debilitating. You can lose your license. We would never want to put somebody in that situation. So 100% completely secure, reviewed, considered with every new feature we build, like video, for example. That was a huge one to make sure we were compliant. Nothing ever to worry about there. And if you do have any questions, we usually pass them right along to our security team, who will give us, the most detailed answer that you want and send it right back to you. Or we can always, again, give you something that's a little bit more in plain English as well.
What do you say to, the therapists out there, even the coaches out there who are like, I like to do this, but I don't know, how am I going to make the transition from, writing my notes on my paper and doing this online? I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand that. It's funny, I was actually at a clinic for a massage this week, and I was thinking about how something like that, a huge clinic, how much work it would be for them specifically to transfer to a new system. While I was getting my massage, my mind is always on clinics, I think. But it's funny because I can completely understand and relate to that. I myself have done transitions of clinics with like 75 to 100 clinicians. And so you have 10,000 plus clients. And I think it is so many layers of that, right? You have to get people on your team agreeing to use a new system, teach them how to use a new system, and then you have to get all of your clients onto a new system as well. So I want to first start by saying I'm not going to pretend this is just a small, easy thing, no big deal to change. I understand this is a huge deal to change. So what our team does is the first kind of couple of calls we have with you is really finding out what your needs are and making sure we can meet those. We're honest about this, right? If something is not going to work for your practice, we want you to know upfront so we can either problem solve for a different solution or guide you to another system, because we don't want you to be in a situation where we're going to be affecting your practice negatively just to make a sale. It's not the kind of company we are. We then work with you throughout that process to talk about every practice is really different and reports on different things and works with different types of clients. We do a really full scope review to see what do you need and how can we meet those needs. And then finally, after the whole thing is signed, sealed, delivered, we have a full onboarding team. So they continue to meet with you. One thing I started at OWL that I absolutely love doing for people is we do a training for your staff and we record these. So we work with whoever our point person is on the account to get a list of what needs to be covered in this. Is it simple stuff like how to log in, or is it, more robust stuff that you want us to be showing? You send us a list and then we do a recorded video for you with you on the call. So if there is kind of any interruptions you need to make about like, oh, don't forget, we're going to classify this person with this type of code here. You're able to add that type of information and then it's recorded and sent to you. So not only your staff at the time can use this to onboard, to watch a million times if they need to, but anybody new that you bring into the clinic, you don't have to spend the time training them. You have this training video to show them exactly how to do everything. And if there's a change to the process and you need another video, say, you're going to be setting people up for online booking, we'll do another video with you. And it's always free to do these types of things. We want to make sure for larger clinics, we show you how much we consider that this is a massive change to your day and your practice and your employees' lives. And we want to make that transition as smooth as possible because we know that it's not nothing. It's a huge deal and a huge change for people. So I'm not going to pretend it's not, but we are there to completely support you through every step of the way. We've done this with so many clinics. I would really consider us experts at doing this.
And obviously, I would imagine that it's much easier for individual therapists, those in private practice, right? Of course.
Oh, yeah. When you're a solo therapist, oh my gosh, you're just laughing almost. It's so easy. We do a client import for you. We help you get set up and teach you how to use the system. And the beautiful thing about an individual therapist is you can start slowly if you want. If you are in a bit of a crunch time and you're realizing I really need a system just in general, you don't need to set up things like intake and consent forms right away if you feel like that's too much for you. We'll connect with you. We, are sending you emails all the time, but the first month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, we're always sending you emails, inviting you to a call with us. So if there's ever a change in your practice, you don't have to feel pressure to just jump in with 2 feet right away. You can get started with what's going to work for you then, and we'll help you build up your practice over time. Or if you want to get started with everything over right away, we'll help you with that too. It really depends on the type of person and what they're ready for. We work with people all across the spectrum, and we also work with people of all different learning styles, right? So we have in-app guidance where it shows you, here's how you add a client, here's how you do this. We have FAQ articles, which walk you through step-by-step written to show you how to do all of that. We have a million training videos. Actually, most of them I've made myself as well.
Really?
Get to hear my voice on those, showing you how to use different videos. And then again, we do have live support because we know therapists, it's so important for you to be able to talk to people and really ask the questions and get the context there as well. So I would say one thing I I love and respect our competitors. I think they have wonderful products, but one thing I do think they can fall down a little bit on is customer support and customer service. They may not have the bandwidth, or it might be a choice that they make, but that's not us. We are here to support you through your whole journey with the software. I worked with someone who's been with us from the start, and last year they're making some huge changes to their clinics, and we had like 3 months of weekly calls to help them to get on board to a part of the system they didn't previously use. So it's not that it goes away. It's not that we charge you for this. It's that we're always here for you to make sure that you feel supported and successful, and you can get the answers to questions you need. And as we roll out new features, we want to make sure that you're using them to the most of your ability, because they can always save you more time or help you to serve your clients in a better way.
So as we kind of wind down here, and I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, and I'm kind of putting myself in the position of maybe a solo therapist and thinking, this sounds great, but why should I make the transition?
Yeah, I totally get that. I think a few reasons. The first one is it's great for your clients. Oh, Alexa, stop.
Oh no, that's happened to me before.
Yeah, it's great for your clients. That's the first thing I would say. As a client, my therapist uses Owl. I'm not going to pretend that she doesn't. And I love it. It's a central place where I can log in, get my financial documents. She does all of my payments for me, which is a wonderful service for me that I don't have to do. There's a central place where I can join my video sessions. I'm getting reminders about my sessions. It makes my experience as someone who can sometimes feel stressed and anxious about therapy or going into sessions a breeze. It's wonderful. And I think some people that we speak with, they have Google Forms for this or Calendly for this, and seeing all of these different things. Different systems can go to your junk mail. You can miss stuff. You have to remember a million passwords sometimes to book online or make payments, and there's none of that with Owl. It is such a good customer service experience for people, which I think is such an important part of therapy. Offering great care is one piece, but at the same vein, these people are coming to you for a service, and you want to make sure that you're providing that piece of it just as well as the actual care that you're providing. So that's the first thing is I would say it's great for your clients. You're always thinking about them first, and this is another way you can do that. The other thing is I would say some people don't realize the system you have now is inefficient, or using multiple systems is taking up a lot of your time. Our system is so easy to use. We have like thousands and thousands of therapists that use our system for a reason. They love it. It's so easy. And I think that that's a huge piece of it. You should switch because you're going to love it, and it's going to save you time, and you're going to find it so easy to use. And the pricing is really reasonable.
So let's talk about that. What is the pricing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a couple of different packages, and we actually are running a deal right now where you get it for $1 a month until the new year. So that is a huge advantage. In terms of the pricing, so for groups, that pricing is kind of consultative based on who how many practitioners you have, what services you need. So that one you do need to talk to someone on our team for. But I can tell you the pricing is incredibly competitive. I think like 30 to 40% lower than a lot of our competitors. So even just reaching out for a quote's a great idea. And so we have 3 levels. They're $25, $39, and $49. And that's a month. And you do have different services in them. $25 is designed for people who are brand new and just starting out, or maybe working in a clinic and doing private practice on the side. It's designed for someone who's like kind of part-time, just working into the system. And then Owl Core is our $39. With that, you have online booking, billing integration, using intake and consent forms, everything you would also need to run your practice, such as like booking sessions. You can have unlimited clients. It's in that one, it's like unlimited use is the system. There's no concept of, you can only have 1,000 clients, or you pay for your client, or you pay for your session. And then the $49 a month plan has a little bit more. So it has a really neat video feature we have called collaborative video, which allows you to actually just send people a link to join the session, which is beautiful because if you are doing any sort of like cross team care where you're bringing in a nurse that you work with, or a social worker that the client works with, a probation officer, you can just send them a link and get them to join the session very easily for that one-off situation, or multiple times if you need. You can always do group and couples family session on the lower package as well, but this one makes it a bit easier if you are kind of working with those external people frequently to connect. It's also great for clients who are not going to remember the password to their accounts, which I'm sure we all work with people who are less technologically savvy. The top level plan also includes medication tracking, which is great and really necessary for some clients, as well as that clinical measures feature I mentioned earlier. And I know some people use a whole separate software just to do clinical measures. So again, for that extra $10 a month, you can completely eliminate that and have it all in the system as well. So
really struck by these rates. I mean, I'm just thinking, if you like have Calendly to schedule and you have this to do your invoices, you're, accumulating all those fees, and you can just have this one really reasonable fee. So people can go to owlpractice.com/guy. Once again, that's owlpractice.com/guy, and you can start their 14-day free trial, and also get this. Wow. Hilary, thank you so much.
It was so wonderful talking to you.
You're incredible. I mean,
thank you so much.
you really are. My God. This is awesome. So people can reach out, and will they talk to you?
You can talk to me if you want, but we do have some wonderful reps that really help you to go through the process. Their names are Anna, Haley, and Danny. But again, if you're a larger group, if you are dying to work with me, or even if you just want to have a conversation with me about the solution and what you thought of it, I am always welcome to do that. My name's Hilary at owlpractice.ca, because I live in Toronto. And you can reach me at any time, Hilary at owlpractice.ca, and I'd love to speak with you. But if you are interested in doing the trial, Anna, Haley, or Danny, they are your people for sure.
Awesome. All right, Hilary, thank you so much for being here.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.